Hello everybody and welcome to the another lecture of this HTML masterclass. Till this point we have discussed a lot about HTML fundamental concept. We discussed how the HTML structure work and what is the different type of tag in the HTML, and we discussed the formatting part of our HTML content. So we use formatting tags to render few stylish or italic or bolder content our web pages. The main styling criteria is totally dependent on CSS, but if you are not using CSS, there is also some points, there is also some tag in the HTML. You can use that to create a highlighted content or other kind of things like this. Okay, so from this lecture onwards we are moving toward more higher content, or we are moving toward more higher concept of the HTML. So from this lecture onwards we will discuss more deeper content like audio tag, video tag, image tag, and other like input tags and other extra content in our website. Okay, so think about a scenario that you are gonna use the image in your website, or you are you are planning to render a video on web page on the home screen of your website. How will you do that? Well, there is a tag like h1 like p. There is an image tag and video tag and audio tag in the HTML, and you can use that particular tag, but you have to be very specific. You have to notice one particular fundamental concept of the content, that you cannot actually create that particular content in your website using HTML. Okay, so there is no feature inside the HTML that you will use and you will create the content, like you will create the image as you want, you will create the video as you want. No, there is no concept like that. But if you have already created your image, your video from other system or from other application by using other application like Photoshop, CorelDRAW, and other kind of applications that is available in the market, then you can link that particular video, or you can link that particular image in your website using URL, which is unique resource locator. So how will you do that? Well, we will first start with the image tag, and we will discuss how we can link the image tag. And if you are able to configure how you can use images, then you will have idea that how you can use video or audio tags in your HTML website. So if you wanna use images, if you wanna render an image, then the first thing is you should have your image, or you should have the URL of your image, which is available on a server or which is available on a website. Like you can copy the image URL from the Google, or you can download the images into your local computer from the Google, and you can use that particular image. So if you want to use that, if you want to render an image on your website, so you have to create a tag which is named as img for image. And notice, if you create this particular image tag, so this particular image tag has two extra things. Like till this point we discussed that if anything is a tag, then there is a closing angle bracket for that particular tag, and there is the opening angle bracket for that particular tag. And if you have this opening and closing angle bracket and anything written inside that opening and closing angle bracket, then this is known as tag in the HTML. Okay, till this point we learned this concept about the tag. But here you can notice in the image tag, if you create img tag, which is self closing, you don't have to close it with the forward slash, but there is two more thing in the tag. One is src and one is alt. Okay, so src is extend for source and alt is extend for alternate text. What they do, actually img is the tag name, and src or source is used to pass the URL to that particular tag. So once your browser will open and read this particular img tag, he will jump to the src attribute. These things are known as attribute. So your browser will jump to the src attribute, it will fetch the URL, you will pass inside the attribute value, okay, between this quotation. So if you pass anything inside this quotation, your browser will fetch it as a URL, and once he go to the URL and fetch the content, it will render to the page. Okay, and what is the alternate text? Well, the alternate text is actually the method to provide the name of your images. So if you link an image and your image is not reloading on the page, your image is not showing on the page because of any issues like the slow internet at the user end or the broken URL you passed, then this name will appear. Whatever you will write inside the alt value, this value will appear on the screen, and user can think of that this was the image developer was trying to show me, but because of some reason this is not opening, this is not rendering. Okay, so how I'm gonna pass the URL here? Actually, if I want to pass the URL to this particular image tag, there is the two options. One is absolute URL method and second is relative URL method. Well, if you want to pass anything from the internet, you can search anything on the internet and you can just copy the image URL and you can pass this inside it your image URL. But if there is an image in your local computer, you can pass the URL on the two basis, absolute basis and relative basis. So if I am going to pass the URL as the relative basis, so what can I do? Look, I have this actually a folder known as HTML master class, and inside that folder I have one HTML file, I have one audio file, I have one image file, and I have one video file. Okay, so if these kind of scenario you have that inside your folder, inside your main folder where your HTML file belongs, you have all your images, videos and audio files, then you can directly write the file name and the file extension to the image source. Okay, so inside the src value I can write the file name, like I can write image.jpg, which is image is my file name and .jpg is the extension, jpeg is the extension for my images. Okay, this is known as the relative method. If you are using anything like this, that if anything relies in the same folder as your HTML file, and if you are directly passing the file name and the extension of that particular file, that means you are giving the relative URL to that particular tag. Okay, if I save it and if I reload the page, you may notice that this image is available on the web page. It is smoothly rendering on the page and it has a fixed height and width because of the images fixed height and width. We can also control it, but there is an option we will discuss. There is more attributes like width and height attribute you can pass to your images. Well, the main criteria is this source part. Okay, so this is the relative method. You can pass this image as the relative URL. Okay, but what is the absolute URL? If your image didn't rely in the same folder as the HTML file, like maybe I have this image somewhere else in my computer or in my system, and this is not inside the same folder as my HTML file. So what can I do? I will open this image, I will right click on this particular image or whatever image I want to link, and I will go to the properties, and inside the property section I will find the location. Okay, so what I will do, I will copy this particular location and I will click OK or close this particular panel, and I will go to my source attribute position, and in the value first I will paste that complete URL I have copied from the properties panel of my system for the image, and then I will pass another backward slash, and then I will write the image name and extension. At this point nothing will change. If you save this particular file and if you reload the web page, nothing will happen. That means your image is working clearly. So this method is known as absolute method because you are giving the total complete URL location to your HTML tag. You are saying it that in the C drive there is a folder, and inside that particular folder I want to render this particular image. Okay, so this is the absolute method. So you can link your content with the absolute, or you can link that particular content with the relative. If I want to link the absolute, I will go with the first one. If I want to link it with the relative, I will go with the second one. Okay, so the both of my pages will work, like absolute and relative will work at the same time. Excuse me. So now we will discuss about the alt criteria, or we will discuss about the alt attribute of a particular image. So we notice that there is an alternate text option, and what this will do, notice if my URL is broken. Okay, if I misspell the folder name or image name, or if I misspell the extension, it will not gonna work, yeah, and it will just show nothing on the page. But it is a good practice to give users actually some hint that there was an image and it is not rendering because of maybe broken URL or because of your slow internet connection. So if I know that this is the house image, then I can pass alternate text like house or anything you want to write. And in this case, if your image is broken, this particular alternate text value will be shown on the website, and any user visiting this website can think that there was an image, but due to some reason it is not rendering. Okay, but if I correct the URL again, then if my image is working, then this alternate text will not work and it will not show at the browser page. Okay, so this was about image and SRC and alternate text. Every images have two more main criteria, two more main attributes. First one is width attribute and second one is height attribute. Okay, so actually till this point I am using images, and this image is rendering in the same sizes as it was being created by the image application. Like this image is created in the paint. So at the designing time of this particular image in the paint, the user or the designer chooses a particular size, particular width and particular height, and then that width and height is being displayed in the image in the browser of your website. Okay, but if you want to control that particular width and height value, you can pass the width attribute and you can pass the height attribute to your image tag, and this will control the width and height of the image. So I can write, let's say 100 here. So it is measuring in the pixel. So if I am writing 100, it means that it is 100 pixel, or I can also pass 100 pixel as well. For pixel we write px at the last without space in the HTML or CSS. So now this image is being generated by of the size of 100 by 100. Okay, so this way you can control the width and you can control the height. Also you can pass the alternate text as well to the same images, and it will work as well like previous. Okay, this was all about the image. Notice we can manage this border, we can manage the box shadow, we can manage the color criteria, we can manage the render quality and all that stuff using CSS and JavaScript. But till this point we are only generating the images on the web page, and we are fixing the size in the width and height aspects because we are just using the HTML, and HTML has this kind of method only. Okay, now moving to the next part, we can also create video features on our website, same as the image img tag. We have a video tag, and once you will create a video tag, you will again get a SRC. This SRC is also the same SRC as your image SRC. It is also the source, and it will also take the URL. Again, you can pass relative URL if you want, or you can pass absolute URL if you want. It depends on you, and it depends on your criteria, what in which criteria you are working and what is your working condition. But the feature lies the same. So I have, if you notice my folder here, I have actually one video, okay, named as video, and the extension of this particular video is .mp4. So I'm going to use that as a src, and I will use that by relatively. So I will write video.mp4 as the source, as the URL, and if I hit save and if I reload the page, you can notice there is the black screen created, but actually in this particular screen I am not able to see anything, and also there is no option to play or push the video, okay, play or pause the video. So what I will do in the HTML, if you just write video tag and if you just pass the URL to this particular video tag, that URL will not gonna do everything for you. You cannot control the URL until you will not pass the controls attribute to your video tag. So you will notice this attribute, which is controls, it don't take any argument, it has no value, it is by default true or false, which is boolean value, okay. So in this kind of attribute, I have the attribute name, then equal to symbol, and I can pass the attribute value within the quotation, single quotation or double quotation. But this kind of attribute didn't take any value. It is by default. If you are using that, that means it's true, and if you are not using that, that means it's false, okay. So if you pass the controls, then it will generate the control on your user side, and now your user can play the video, and your user can forward the video, your user can pause the video or make it in the full screen, or he can use the playback speed feature, and he can use the picture in picture method, okay. So this was the feature about the video tag controls, video tag and controls attribute of the video tag. Now it has two more important attribute. Notice if I reload the page, here is my video, but it is not playing automatically. It waits until I click on the play button, okay. So what if I want to play it automatically when the when any user reload the page, or when any user open or visit the page first time? In this way, in this for this scenario, you can use the autoplay option, autoplay attribute. It is also known as attribute, and it also don't take any argument or don't take any value like src or alt, okay. So you can write autoplay, but this autoplay will only work if you pass the muted. And what is muted? Actually, muted is the method which by default make the video silent, okay. So notice there is an option, to mute and unmute to a video, and here this speaker icon is not highlighted because this particular video has no background audio. But if a video has a background audio, you will find this and you can mute and unmute that particular video, okay. So if you are gonna make a particular video to autoplay, there is the browser feature, there is a browser security feature. Your browser, I mean even if it is Chrome or any other browser, it will block the video to autoplay if it is not muted. So you can mute the video by passing muted. By default it will be muted, and if a user want to listen the background music, and if a user want to listen the audio, he can unmute the video, okay, by clicking the speaker icon on the video control panel. So if it is done, now if any user will visit the website, the video will be automatically played, and once the video will complete, it will be stopped at that position, okay. So this was all about the video tag. Now we can discuss the audio tag, because it is also the same. You can also pass the width and height to control the width of your video and height of your video, and you may notice that this particular tag, like image tag and video tag, is inline tag because it is creating content in the same line, okay. So now next move to the audio tag. Same as the image and video, you have audio, and audio have the same feature like src, and you can pass again the same thing. So I, in my folder, I have a mpeg file which is name as audio, so I am passing audio.mpeg file, and here in the audio.mpeg file there is a 3-second audio. If I save it and reload it, actually if you not pass the control, you cannot see anything on the page. So again you have to pass control even if it is video or audio. And if you passed the src and if you pass the control statement to your audio tag, then on your page you can see the content like play option, pause option, and again mute and unmute option, and again playback speed control system. Okay, so this is by default given by your browser, so you just need to use the audio tags, and all the feature will be available if you pass the proper attributes to that particular content. Okay, so at the last we can also talk about the specific tag which is used to link a website into a website. Okay, so notice I have this page, this relative URL page with this HTML master class. There is an option, if you want to show another website to your own website, inside your own website, you can use it by using iframe tag. Okay, so iframe also have src, and it has a frame border which used to create the border around the box. We will discuss it later, but first we will going to discuss about this src. What it takes, you can pass video, audio or anything like relative or absolute, and you can also pass the HTML pages to that particular src. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass my own HTML masterclass image, masterclass HTML file inside this, and what it will do, it will create a small panel inside your web page, and it will render the whole HTML file here. Means inside your HTML page there is another HTML page. Okay, you can pass any URL. You can pass facebook.com, you can pass google.com, or you can pass your website, any other website you can use there. So this is used to show the website inside your own website. What is the frame border actually? This frame border, if it is 0, there is no border around this particular iframe box. If I pass the value like 1, there will be a border around this particular box. Okay, so you can notice there is a small border on the top and on the left side of this particular iframe box. Okay, so till this point we discussed about the image tag, we discussed about the video tag, and we discussed about the audio and iframe tag. You have to be specific that these tag is not creating the content, these tag is being used to render the content, and you have to create the content somewhere else. Okay, so this is all for this lecture, and in the next lecture we will deep dive into the list in the HTML and tables in the HTML. Okay, thank you for watching. See you in the next lecture.